We're a week away from UFC 313. Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev, the fight heard around the world, the one that we've all been waiting for. And I'm going to be giving my breakdown and prediction for every single fight on this card, including the recently announced Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev fight, which I haven't really given any prediction on yet. We'll get into that. We even have Amanda Lemos and Iasmin Lucindo on this card. That's probably the people's main event. But guys, before we get into these predictions, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our sponsor. That's the Real Food Cookbook. If you want to get in shape before the summer, but you don't want to have to go on a miserable, boring diet, and you want big, hearty meals from all over the world, these beautiful comfort foods to keep you satiated while you lose fat, then the Real Food Cookbook may be for you. But we also have Crafty Vet hoodies and Blobco merch. That's right, we're teaming up with the Blobco to outfit you with an exclusive line of crafty hoodies. And if you're interested in getting one of these hoodies, I recommend when it comes to picking a size, round up. So if you usually get a large, get an extra large. So check that out if you're interested, guys. And without further ado, let's get into this breakdown. Djorden Santos versus Ozzy Diaz. I'm going to go with the Djorden. On this one. He's from, I believe, Merab Dvalishvili's village, based on the name. Now I'm just playing around. I think that Ozzy Diaz is going to win this one. It seems like the Djorden Santos is a big favorite. He's a decision guy, though. Whereas Ozzy Diaz, he's going to have a height advantage. He's 6'4", Djorden is 6 foot. All right. Ozzy Diaz is going to have a reach advantage. I believe he has a 79-inch reach. I think Djorden has like a 75-inch reach. So, yes, Santos doesn't have a lot of L's, but it's like the people that he's fighting aren't that great. Ozzy Diaz is losing to killers like, again, Pfeiffer and Zhang Mingyang. And I just think that Diaz, he was in there with Zhang Mingyang. He was landing a couple of leg kicks. He was landing a couple of shots, pop shotting a little bit. So I think he's going to be able to hold off the Djorden Santos in this fight. But it's going to be a low-level fight, that's for sure. Let's get on to the next one. Mairon Santos versus Francis Marshall. Two prospects going at it. Francis Marshall has the experience. He's got a win over Bazooka Joe recently where he was knocking down Bazooka Joe and he held him against the fence in the first round. And I'm not talking about that joint that Yair smoked on that night where he won the interim title, right? Bazooka Joe, Aljo's training partner. So that actually is a pretty okay win, although, let's be honest, Bazooka Joe ain't that good, all right? Mairon Santos, nasty KO over Con Ofley on Tough, the Volkanovski at home. And here's the thing. I believe that if this goes past the first round, Francis Marshall's chances to win are going to get better because he's well-rounded. He actually does have some thud on his shots. He hits pretty hard. And he's a decent grappler. But Mairon Santos is just so good on the feet. He's got nasty kicks. Nasty lead kicks to the leg, and it really looks like, when he lands a kick, it affects people. So I think I'm going to go with Mairon Santos to win this one just based on, again, I think he's a really good distance management level of striker, and I think that if you look at Francis Marshall's fight with William Gomis, Gomis was able to keep him at distance, and Gomis is just never going to engage anyone. Mairon Santos is good at keeping people at distance, but he has power. He actually damages people. And I think that as this fight goes on, even though we could see Francis Marshall take over with the grappling, I think that his movement is going to be hindered by the leg kicks. And I think that Mairon Santos is going to win himself a decision. Let's get on to the next one. Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. I honestly think that Alex Morono should consider just bailing out of this one at this point. Because listen, here's the thing. Carlos Leal beat Rinat Fakhretdinov on short notice. On short notice, he stepped in to fight Rinat Fakhretdinov and outpaced him, outworked him, and shucked him off like he was nothing with the takedowns. Hit him with the harder shots. Could possibly be on the sauce because his performance was that good on short notice. Didn't gas out. Insane takedown defense, strength, output, you name it. Alex Morono, not the best athlete, right? I believe he had a fight with Nico Price where that was, sort of the legend of the dodo bird going in there to fight the guy that looks like he just spawned into the cage but's never fought before. So here's the thing. Morono's got himself a good guillotine. We know that. We know he hit Cowboy with one of those guillotines. We know he's, a little bit of a tricky customer at times. Joaquin Buckley couldn't get him out of there until the third. I don't even know if Buckley got him out of there, actually. I believe he may have. Maybe it was a decision, but it was close. So Morono's one of those guys where you think he's going to get smoked every single time, but he is going to get smoked this time because, again, Renat Fakhretdinov is a beast. All right, he may not be as great as we all thought he was when he first came into the UFC, although I was the pump the brakes guy in that situation until he knocked out Kevin Lee. But Carlos Leal, on short notice, we didn't even know who this guy was at the time, beat him. And that was one of the worst robberies of 2024. That was a horrible robbery on the Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria card. So I'm going to go with Carlos Leal by a first-round finish. All right, unless he comes in looking like a completely different fighter, which in that case, maybe there is some truth to him being on the sauce if that's the case, because if he comes in looking like the same guy, then, maybe he isn't actually on the sauce. But then again, people can get around it. But either way, Bruno Ferreira versus Armen Petrosyan. Armen Petrosyan coming off of a KO loss to Shara Magomedov, the spinning elbow, spinning back fist combo. Bruno Ferreira got submitted by Abus Magomedov. That was a big upset. We all expected that if Abus couldn't get him out of there early, Bruno was going to win. It turns out Abus Magomedov came in with a better gas tank. So this is a tricky one because Bruno Ferreira has heavy hands. He's got grit. And Armen Petrosyan, he's, a pretty decent striker. I remember he was able to outstrike Christian Leroy Duncan, which was pretty impressive. Christian Leroy Duncan is actually a very good creative striker. And he kind of just showed him up with the basics. But the thing is, Armen Petrosyan just doesn't have the best finishing ability, and I feel like you kind of need that against Bruno Ferreira. And, okay, he lost his last fight to Abus, but Abus Magomedov has a submission game. He's well-rounded. We're really only going to see Armen Petrosyan strike, so this is going to come down to the stand-up. I'm liking the power from Bruno Ferreira. I think eventually he's going to find the right hand, and I think he's going to knock Armen Petrosyan out, who's coming off of a knockout loss. So expect to see Armen Petrosyan winning this fight until he gets clipped. The thing is, though, I'm not super confident because he was doing pretty okay against Shara Magomedov. It was a competitive fight until he got caught. And Shara Magomedov is a better striker than Bruno Ferreira. So maybe just because he's coming off of a KO loss, I'm sort of underrating his chances. But at the same time, I just think that Ferreira is the type of fighter where if you don't have any serious power coming back in his direction, or if you're not like a really well-rounded fighter, he's eventually just going to feel comfortable enough to push forward and plant a big one on you. And I think that's what we're going to see in this fight. So I'm going to go with Bruno Ferreira by a second-round finish against Armen Petrosyan, but don't be surprised if Petrosyan can win himself a decision. As we get on to... Now we're getting going. Now we're getting going with some really good matchups. Although this card is already pretty good, but when you see Joshua Van this early on a fight night, you know it's going to be a good card. Joshua Van, best volume striker in the flyweight division, is back, and he's facing Rei Tsuruya, also known as Tatsudo Taira at home. So this is going to be an interesting one, but listen, Rei Tsuruya is actually pretty good. He's a wrestler, he's a grappler for the most part, but this is the thing about Joshua Van. In order to beat Joshua Van, you have to have power and you have to have decent striking, okay? Because Joshua Van has amazing striking, but just no power. So eventually, if you can find a couple of punches and you can plant one on him, like, you could finish him. But this is the thing. He has good recovery as well. His takedown defense, that's what's relevant here. His takedown defense is amazing in the flyweight division. He's got a very quick sprawl. And coming into the UFC, he didn't have a whole lot of training under his belt. I believe when he made his debut, he only had a few years of training. Now he's been in the UFC for a few years. His takedown defense was good when he got into the UFC. You got to think that it's going to continue to get better and better. And this is the thing with Rei Tsuruya. That's what his bread and butter is. It's the grappling. And he's not a particularly dominant wrestler. I think we're going to see Joshua Van get himself a finish in this one. Unless Rei Tsuruya just surprises us with some nasty power, I don't think he's going to win this one. I think this is a very easy fight to pick. Joshua Van should dominate this because he's going to stuff the takedowns and he's just going to beat Rei Tsuruya up. So not really the fight that I wanted to see. Maybe this was another matchup. Maybe Rei Tsuruya is... Fucking hell, dude. Saying this dude's name over and over again is impossible, dude. Rei Tsuruya, okay? This was not the fight we wanted. I wanted to see Joshua Van fight, someone that's got a couple of wins in the UFC. Rei Tsuruya is brand new. Not that he's making his debut. He's already made his debut, but you get my point. Isn't Joshua Van ranked? Why is he taking this? Not why is he taking this fight? I mean, he's going to win this fight, but I don't know. Was this the original matchup? It doesn't seem like it would be the original matchup. Curtis Blaydes versus Rizvan Kuniev. Here we go. Rizvan Kuniev. Rizvan Kuniev is like a heavier, higher body fat version of Azamat Murzakanov. All right, and what do I mean by that is Murzakanov gets in there, he looks unsuspecting, he looks like, he's going to get his ass kicked every single time. He's sort of like a Morono type of build in the light heavyweight division, smaller than everyone else, flabbier than everyone else, but then he shocks you with how explosive he is and how fast he is. Rizvan is like that at heavyweight. He's a small heavyweight. How tall is he? He's 6'4". There's no fucking way Rizvan Kuniev is 6'4", dude. Maybe that's just because the last fight I watched of his was against Bruno Ferreira, who's very, very tall. Wait, was it Bruno Ferreira? It's not Bruno Ferreira, dude. Is it, though? Who's the fucking Ferreira that Ngannou beat? The PFL Ferreira. No, we're not doing this where I'm going to spend the next 3 minutes. He beat Ferreira, bro. He beat the PFL's Ferreira. All right? I just forgot his first name. Yo, you're casual man. No, I'm not. I've watched every single one of his fights, man. But listen, Rizvan Kuniev beat that guy at PFL, but that's not the point, dude. The point is, this is actually going to be a competitive fight. And it's not because Rizvan Kuniev popped back in the day. It's because Rizvan Kuniev is like a heavyweight Azamat Murzakanov. He's very technical. He's light on his feet. He catches people off guard with lighter man techniques, jumping punches and jumping kicks. And he's got really good clinch striking as well, where he minces people up in the clinch with fast combinations. And Curtis Blaydes, he's the plotting man, right? Blaydes is like the opposite, the polar opposite. Sort of plods his way forward and chucks 1-2s until he, bends over at the hips and goes for a takedown. But this is a different level than the PFL. This is a different level than Eagle FC, where Rizvan Kuniev was able to submit a heavyweight on the feet with a standing guillotine choke. This is Curtis Blaydes, former title challenger. Curtis Blaydes is probably going to KO Rizvan Kuniev, all right? Even though he's coming off of a KO loss, it's like the people that KO Curtis Blaydes are not even the Jairzinho Rozenstruiks that have power. It's like the most imposing, biggest heavyweights with nasty power. It's Aspinall, it's Derek Lewis, and he was kicking Lewis's ass. But also, it's Sergey Pavlovich. I don't think Curtis Blaydes is going to look at Rizvan Kuniev, who's definitely not actually 6'4", who's more like 6'2", who is sort of small. I don't think he's going to be jittery. I don't think he's going to, freeze up like he sometimes does. I think we're going to see Curtis Blaydes going out there. I think his reach is going to be a problem for Rizvan Kuniev because everybody that fights Curtis Blaydes struggles with his reach. He has very good 1-2s. He has a very good long, rangy style of throwing punches. So I think that Rizvan Kuniev is going to surprise us with a couple of moments. He'll land like a switch kick to the body and he'll land like a crispy knee or something like that. But eventually, I think we're going to see Curtis Blaydes plant a big one on him and maybe even smudge him into the fence or something like that. So I'm going to go with Curtis Blaydes, but it will be competitive. He's not just a blob. Okay, Rizvan Kuniev is like a fast, explosive blob. He's not just a blob. And Curtis Blaydes, plotty, but I think the experience is going to definitely play dividends for him in this one. I think that's going to be the difference maker. So I'm going to go with crafty Blaydes to get this one done. I don't think he's going to be able to finish Rizvan Kuniev on the ground. I think that if he gets a finish, it's probably going to be like a TKO on the feet. So, yeah, Curtis Blaydes is going to get this one done. He's going to hold it down for the UFC as we get on to Bobby Green versus Mauricio Ruffy, or Ruffy. I still haven't fucking heard his name be pronounced as often as I need to in order to pronounce it correctly. I might be pronouncing it correctly, but I may not. So I'm going to call him Ruffy. Although Mauricio Ruffy's gas tank didn't look good in his last fight, and I believe that he is really like a Conor McGregor in the modern era because after the first round, he's a completely different fighter, and his output isn't the same. The guy that he was fighting, James Yontop, is built of something else, man. That guy has like a granite chin. He has a fire hydrant for a head because Mauricio Ruffy was hitting him with some slip counter shots that would have knocked out a lot of people at lightweight, especially Bobby Green. And this is the thing. Bobby Green doesn't have a chin anymore. He never had the best chin. He gets dropped in every single fight now. And we've seen him get brutally finished by Jalin Turner. where that was a late stoppage. He took so much unnecessary damage. He got brutally knocked out against Drew Dober. Green, his output is good. His speed is still really good for his age. You know what I mean? He's like definitely one of the fastest old heads in the UFC, if not the fastest. But I just think that, listen, his finishing ability outside of the Grant Dawson fight, it's really not that great. He's a guy that usually wins on output. This is a guy he can beat on output. Mauricio Ruffy, again, sort of low output, but the creativity, the slip counters, bro, he's got a nasty slip counter game. I think eventually Mauricio Ruffy's going to catch him with like a big hook or something like that after he slips like a punch of Bobby Green, or he's going to catch him with a right hand. But even if this gets into the second and third, even if it gets there, Mauricio Ruffy, his gas tank may not be good, but he still carries some power late. And I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to take the damage that Lontop took. And yeah, this might be the end of Bobby Green's career. I don't think he'll retire after this, but like I'm talking about the end of him winning fights because, you know, after getting finished so many times, eventually your chin's going to be completely gone, and the level of fighters that you're going to be getting chinned by next are way below Mauricio Ruffy. So I'm telling you, if he hits Bobby Green with the shots that he was landing, even in the third round against James Yontop, he's going to finish him. All right, so Mauricio Ruffy gets this one done. I don't think we're going to see him lose until he fights someone with, again, a good chin. I mean, it's really not going to take that much. I genuinely think Bobby Green, even though his striking is very good, I just think his durability is the thing that's holding him back big time these days. So, yeah, I think we're going to see Mauricio get this one done. But he is a beatable fighter. I just think this is a really good matchup for him. Let's get on to the next one. Amanda Lemos versus Iasmin Lucindo. Man. I'm going to have to say that Amanda Lemos is going to get this one done. I just think she's, you know, Iasmin Lucindo has always had a problem with putting them together and sort of actually moving forward and throwing punches and committing to them. Amanda Lemos has also had a bit of that issue, but, you know, she's just got more experience. She's been in the UFC for longer. She's going to have a height advantage. She's going to have the reach disadvantage, but I think what it's going to come down to in this fight is really that Amanda Lemos is stronger, and she seems to be leaner. And when it comes to that, it just means she's going to be bigger for the weight class. She's going to be faster, more explosive, and that's ultimately what I'm going to be basing this prediction off of, because in women's MMA, it usually comes down to how fast people are and how strong people are, and if they are able to impose their will. And I think she's going to get this one done. I think she's just going to have the experience as well. So I'm going to go with Amanda Lemos. As we get on to the next one, Jalin Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. I am picking Ignacio Bahamondes. I was going to pick Jalin Turner until I rewatched his fights with Renato Moicano and Dan Hooker, and I know that he lost both of those fights. I get that, but I forgot just how much Jalin Turner basically gave up in both of those matches, especially against Moicano, dude. And even against Dan Hooker, man, he went down a couple of times where he wasn't even badly rocked. He just went down to lose in a less damaging way, because that was just a way for him to lose and survive rather than actually like be able to get it done on the feet and take the risk of getting hit. And then against Renato Moicano, lands a nasty punch on Renato Moicano in the first round. After getting taken out, he gets back up to his feet. This is the thing. I think that Jalin Turner is more skilled than Ignacio Bahamondes. I think he's better than Bahamondes, especially because he's got good grappling. He has a submission game. On the feet, I think he's slightly better. Not that much better. But again, it's like against Renato Moicano. He lands this nasty punch on Moicano. He drops him, walks off. The ref didn't step in. And then in the next round, Renato Moicano takes him down. And when I say that Renato Moicano didn't land anything of substance to rock Jalin Turner, yet Jalin Turner just started shelling up and he just totally gave up, basically just stopped defending himself after Renato Moicano landed like a half of an elbow on him. And it just seems to be a theme in Turner's career where if things stop going his way, he just sort of wilts, even if he's not getting hit that much. And I just think that Ignacio Bahamondes, he's never been finished in his entire career. He's never been knocked out. He has a good chin. Jalin Turner has a good chin as well. But I think that if Jalin Turner doesn't finish Ignacio, where, again, I think that Bahamondes is very durable, and I think that the chances of that aren't that high. I think we're going to see Ignacio Bahamondes in the second round come on strong, start to turn the tide if he's maybe losing by a little bit in the first. And I think that if the tide turns at all, we're going to see Jalin Turner completely wilt. And I think that we're going to see Ignacio Bahamondes finish Jalin Turner. Keep in mind, Jalin Turner has a really difficult time making weight. Both of these guys are 6'3", but Turner is the bigger lightweight. He's a little bit denser. Ignacio Bahamondes doesn't carry as much muscle. So I just think that, again, this is going to be one of those things where it's like Turner, he's very dangerous. He hits really hard. I think he's, the more dangerous of the two fighters. He can get a submission. He could hurt Ignacio to the body with body shots, whether that's punches to the body, whether that's a teep to the body. And he can really hurt him if he lands a good shot upstairs. The thing is, I don't think Ignacio Bahamondes is like a Brad Riddell or a Jamie Malarkey. You know what I mean? He's much more durable than these guys that Jalin Turner's just getting out of there early. Even Renato Moicano is not really known for his durability. Ignacio Bahamondes, I think the chances of him surviving until the second are actually pretty high. And I'm telling you, if this gets competitive, which it will, he's going to win by a TKO. He's got Belal in his corner. Belal's the newly crowned champion, and they've been training together for a long time. He's going to have a lot of motivation just by training with the champion. I think that's going to give him like a boost of energy going into this fight and in his career in general. He's a hungry fighter. He's going to get this one done. And I think this is the last lightweight fight that we see from Jalin Turner. I think he'll move up to welterweight after that. And you know what? I think that would be the right move because he's going to have a serious speed advantage at welterweight. Probably a better gas tank as well. Skill advantage. So we may see him be a top 10 fighter in the welterweight division. But right now, I think we're going to see Ignacio Bahamondes take Jalin's ranking spot. Let's get on to the next one. Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev, the rematch that nobody asked for, but is still really good. It's going to be an exciting fight. But I'm going to pick Justin Gaethje to win this matchup, which, again, it obviously has to do with the short notice thing as well. But here's the thing, though. Justin Gaethje may never be the same after the Max Holloway KO. Like, that was a nasty, brutal KO loss after he got his ass whooped for 4.5 rounds. All right? It might be the case that that's the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Okay? That if he goes in there and gets hit with like a nasty, Rafael Fiziev, angry man's combination in the pocket, he's just going to get flatlined. But he's had a lot of time off, and, Gaethje's chin has always been pretty decent. I don't think it's going to be the case where, he just takes one good punch and then all of a sudden it's over. I think we're going to see a very patient Justin Gaethje in this one. But the reason why I'm picking Justin Gaethje to win this fight is, number one, Rafael Fiziev slows down in his fights. Number two, Rafael Fiziev is not that dangerous. Not as dangerous as people think. There was a time where Rafael Fiziev was coming up the rankings and, he had the braided hair and he was doing the yap. And everyone was just fooled into believing that this guy's one of the heaviest hitters in the sport. When in reality, he's actually kind of small for the division and doesn't really knock that many people out. Like, okay, man, he lands a fucking spinning heel kick flush on Brad Riddell. All right. That's Brad Riddell, who's always been a little bit chinny, and it's a spinning heel kick. All right, man, he KO'd Rafael Dos Anjos, whatever. But, like, let's be honest, man. When it comes to his boxing, he's not the heaviest hitter. Dude, he couldn't even drop Bobby Green. All right? Fiziev is dangerous, obviously, man. If me and Fiziev were to fight, dude, of course this guy would be able to rock me a few times, man. Of course he'd be able to sting me or something with like a punch, bro. It'd probably be like a decision or whatever, but I'm joking. When I say he's overratedly dangerous, I'm talking about in comparison to the finishers in the lightweights top 15, okay? He's dangerous, but overratedly dangerous. His power's never been that amazing. He is a little bit undersized for the lightweight division. Everyone that he fights at the top is just a little bit bigger than him. His gas tank is not good. After the first round of every single fight, it seems like he falls off. That's just what happens. And this is the thing. When is the last time we've seen any of these short notice replacements win? All right. Now, maybe you could think to the prelims. Maybe you can think to just one of these weird fights that's put together that no one really remembers. But if you're talking about these big fights where Renato Moicano steps in, a Volkanovski steps in, Bryce Mitchell on short notice against Josh Emmett. I'm really struggling to think of one fight where there are big ranked names, where the guy filling in on short notice is winning. Nobody's winning these short notice fights right now. Nobody. All right? Kamaru Usman had the best performance out of anybody. That's the only person I can think of in a big fight that took it on short notice in the last few years that actually had a decent performance. But everyone else is losing. And I don't think Rafael Fiziev is going to change that. It has really nothing to do with the first fight. I think that this could be a different fight. But the point is, this is a guy that's taken this fight on short notice, that hasn't had a training camp. He's been out of the cage for a year and a half, coming off of a horrible knee injury where he had to have surgery. So I think Justin Gaethje, if he goes in there patient and he goes in there with the Trevor Whitman special, man, and he's doing the footwork, I think we're going to see Gaethje win this fight. It is 3 rounds. That's fair to Rafael Fiziev, but I think what we're going to see is Gaethje get this one done by a very patient decision. I don't think Gaethje is going to go in there slugging. I know that Justin Gaethje is the representative for the most violent fighter in the UFC. He's not, but he's one of them, 100%. Can't take that away. But throughout his career, he's become progressively more patient, especially after his KO losses. And I think after the Max Holloway KO loss, we're going to see the most patient Gaethje to date. Now, that actually could be decent for Rafael Fiziev, because if Gaethje's not pressing him that much, Rafael Fiziev might not have to push a crazy pace, right? So then he might be able to keep up. But I just still think that, Fiziev gets very trigger happy early, starts going crazy. I think he's a guy that sort of fights with his ego a little bit. And, we've seen him just get carried away. And it's like, halfway through the first round, he's already thrown 30 switch kicks to the body. He's got those angry man switch kicks, and he is throwing them combinations. And we could see him put Gaethje out cold, dude. That's the thing. That's sort of the equalizer in this one. It's like Gaethje's last loss, dude. He took so much damage. And now he's almost 37 years old. It will be interesting in the first round, because it is very possible that Fiziev KOs him this time, especially because, again, maybe Gaethje isn't the same, but usually we end up saying that. And this is the thing about Justin Gaethje when it comes to like the ebb and flow of his career. It seems like the more brutal of a loss that he takes, the more amazing his comeback is, because Gaethje, after every single loss, like just goes on a couple fight win streak. He had like a 3-fight win streak put together last time, or I think it was a 2-fight win streak. But, after the Oliveira fight, we really thought that he might be done. So yeah, I think we're going to see Gaethje get this one done. I'm going to go with a decision. I think Gaethje is probably going to win the second and third round. It's going to be another 29-28, maybe a little bit more dominant. But it's always possible that we could see a KO, all right? And I think that if we do see a KO, it's probably going to be a Rafael Fiziev KO. Let's get on to the main event, the one that we've all been waiting for. I'm going to take my bias out of this. I understand I've been training with Magomed. I get that. Listen, I think Alex Pereira is going to knock Magomed Ankalaev out. And I think he's going to knock him out in the first couple of rounds. Magomed Ankalaev, I will say this, after rewatching a few of his fights, if he does take Alex Pereira down early, I think that he could actually get a finish. And this is the thing, some people aren't going to want to hear that, because they look at Magomed and they're like, he's not the most dominant grappler. Yes, but like, he is actually a pretty good grappler. And he's out-grappling the likes of Jan Blachowicz and holding him down. And he's able to beat him up on the ground. I think that we could see Magomed like actually work himself into a dominant position, and he is just a better grappler than the other guys that have taken Pereira down. He just is. All right, now, of course, I'm picking Pereira, but I'm saying that it is very possible that we see a Magomed Ankalaev TKO on the ground if he puts Pereira in a really bad position. It's possible. All right, I know you're going to say, who's he TKO on the ground, man, outside of Anthony Smith? I get that, but who's he really grappling against recently? He grappled against Jan Blachowicz. We didn't see him grapple against Johnny Walker. We didn't see him grapple against Alexander Rakic, because Rakic is a good grappler. I have a feeling that he's really going to go in there and try to grapple, but this is the thing. He is going to strike with Alex Pereira. And Magomed Ankalaev, even though he is fast, even though he's a southpaw, he's a southpaw. First off, the fucking southpaw talk, it needs to come to a halt. I understand that Pereira would prefer to fight an orthodox striker, but he doesn't struggle as much as you think against southpaws, man. And I'm fucking tired of hearing this idea that he can't kick. Jan Blachowicz was fighting orthodox against southpaw Magomed Ankalaev and was throwing the rear leg and beating the shit out of Magomed Ankalaev on the feet with the kicks. All right? I've seen Alex Pereira kick people that are fighting southpaw, and I've seen it 100 times. You can kick somebody if they're fighting southpaw and you're fighting orthodox. And Alex Pereira, even if he doesn't throw the rear leg, he's going to throw his front leg, and he's going to be able to hurt Magomed Ankalaev. Again, dude, it's like some people were like, no, you can't throw kicks anymore. What about Jan Blachowicz? What about when we saw Jan Blachowicz buckling this guy around? Now we give Magomed bucklehead, brother. It's because, you know, again, it's like, well, I don't do that in training. Okay, but this is what happens in fights. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing in fights, all right? When people are fighting southpaws, they are throwing their rear leg, and Blachowicz was having success. Pereira's rear leg is even sneakier, all right? There's less telegraph on it. And his front leg, he's going to be able to kick Magomed too, and that's going to be an issue. But the real reason why I'm now confident that we're going to see Pereira knock him out is because Magomed Ankalaev leaves his right hand down, and I've seen him get countered with hooks over and over and over again. It's just that the guys that he's fighting do not have the left hook of Alex Pereira. They do not have the setups. This is not like a huge glaring issue. It's not like a Jamal Hill level of like he always has his right hand down, the lead hand. But Magomed Ankalaev, his lead hand is always kind of extended. And I'm sure, listen, but I know he's going to try to clean this up, man. We've been working on some things, but he's always finding his range with it. He's always poking and prodding with the lead hand. And it just so happens that he gets countered quite a lot. Alexander Rakic was countering him with left hooks on that right-hand side, all right? And I believe at some point, especially when Magomed starts getting buckled around, his lead hand will be down, and I think Pereira is going to counter KO him, all right? And this is the thing, we know Pereira, even though Ankalaev has good chin, Pereira's power is different. Now, here's the thing. Magomed gets better as fights go on the feet and on the ground. He will have a speed advantage. Even though Alex Pereira is a former middleweight and he's got the lighter man skill, he's been up at light heavyweight for a while, he's not the fastest light heavyweight right now. Okay, Magomed Ankalaev is actually a bit of a Speedy Gonzalez, and that left hand is certainly going to be landing. He's going to find a home for it. Pereira's not the best at defending straight punches. It's kind of possible that we see a Magomed Ankalaev KO in this fight. Like, he was cracking Rakic with some good shots. And this is the thing about the Rakic fight. If you watch the first round of the Rakic fight, you're going to be like, dude, this guy will never beat Alex Pereira. This is such a boring fight. He's not doing anything. It's sort of like the way people viewed Adesanya that were picking Pereira when they were first fighting in the UFC. It was like, dude, Adesanya is like this guy that just kicks at range and like throws one jab around. Pereira's just too good for him. Like his output is there. He's going to be able to match him on frame. He's going to be able to beat him. If you watch the second and third round, Magomed Ankalaev actually starts increasing his output and getting respect with the power. And towards the end of that fight, I believe the reason why Alexander Rakic lost is because he was just too respectful of the power. Not too respectful. Like, he definitely felt some power coming in his direction. And then he started getting rocked, and he was just on the back foot, getting pieced up by Magomed as the fight went on. So Magomed striking, if you go deeper into a fight, you know, it does actually get pretty good. Like, he actually has some decent hands. But I think I'm telling you right now, this is the difference. Rakic, he starts losing, and he starts to put his back up against the fence and starts circling and circling and circling. If Alex Pereira is losing in a fight, he is going to continue to push the pace. It's going to come down to the guerrero spirit of Alex Pereira. I believe that Alex Pereira is the type of fighter to lose a couple of rounds to Magomed Ankalaev, and still, as soon as he gets back up to his feet, or as soon as a round starts where he is back on his feet, he will start pressing Magomed Ankalaev. That is how he was able to beat Jan Blachowicz. Blachowicz, first round, dominates Alex Pereira. Okay? Couldn't finish him, but dominates him in the first round. Second round, Blachowicz actually gets the takedown a minute and a half into that fight. This is the thing, though. As soon as Pereira was able to work himself back up to his feet, what did he do? He started pressuring Jan Blachowicz, flicking at range, chopping him with the low kicks, and just basically like throwing tons of output. And that's what won him the fight. It was the fact that he knew he was losing, and he knew that I have to actually make something happen. Like, I actually have to get some points on the board. We saw that against Adesanya. He's down 3-1. What's he do in that 5th round? He pushes the pace. It's like when you're watching Alexander Volkanovski in the 5th round against Islam Makhachev. Volk is down. He's fighting the exact way he should be fighting, and it just seems like it's a matter of time before Volkanovski lands a big punch. It just seemed like a matter of time before Alex Pereira was able to knock Adesanya out in the 5th round. And I believe that we could see Magomed start to dominate this fight. But if he can't finish Alex Pereira on the ground, I think eventually, dude, Pereira, he has decent cardio. He has the Guerrero spirit. Every single moment he's on the feet, he's going to be pushing Magomed. He's going to be putting the pace on him. And he's going to have an opportunity to find a home for the left hook, which is always, not always, again, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it's there. I'm telling you it's there. Watch Magomed Ankalaev's fight with not only Jan Blachowicz, but with Alexander Rakic. He leaves his right hand down, and he gets caught with left hooks. And this is not the guy where you can afford to get caught by, all right? So I think Alex Pereira is going to chew him up with the leg kicks. I think he's going to find a home for the left hook, and I think he's going to knock Magomed Ankalaev out. Either in the 1st round, if Magomed fucks around and strikes, or in the later rounds. I think we might even see a 3rd or 4th round TKO from Alex Pereira. He's got the cardio, he's got the perfect mentality and style to, even if he's losing a fight, do exactly what he needs to do to get himself a win. And I will talk about the grappling, though. Let's talk about the grappling. Magomed Ankalaev, he's obviously a good wrestler. Again, like, I think that back in the day, there really was this narrative that no one can wrestle with Magomed. He's not as dominant as people used to make him out to be. But I think that people have started going a little bit too crazy on his grappling. And now they're saying, like, Magomed can't grapple. No one's saying that. But they're saying things like, Magomed's not even a good grappler. Like, he is obviously one of the better grapplers at light heavyweight. Of course, that's because light heavyweight is a weak-ass division when it comes to the grapplers. But, like, by the way, did you hear, who was it that said that Phil Davis and all these old heads would beat Alex Pereira just because they were grappling? I understand DC. Someone was saying that if you put Alex Pereira back in the old light heavyweight days, in the early 2010s, he would get creamed by, like, everyone in the fucking top 10. Which is just insane. I don't remember who said that, but someone said that recently. That's just not true, okay? Like, Daniel Cormier is one thing. Jones is one thing, but we're about to find out. This is why this fight is so exciting, because this is really, like, going to be the legacy-defining matchup for Alex Pereira. Of course, he's already one of the greatest fighters ever. He's a top 15 fighter of all time. Some people have him in the top 10. But if he wins this, the first time he'll be beating someone that's truly, like, not only well-rounded, but has the mystique of a well-rounded fighter from Dagestan. EV trains with Lucas Tracy, dude. I'm telling you right now, this guy, if he beats Magomed, everybody's going to respect Alex Pereira's legacy, okay? Let's talk about the grappling, all right? Alex Pereira, I think he's a little bit of a Chito Vera. All right? I honestly believe that as the fight goes on, Pereira will actually get better with his takedown defense. And I think that, again, early on, if Magomed does decide to grapple, I think he's going to take Pereira down. All right, I don't see Pereira catching him with, like, a flying knee or a crazy uppercut. That's just not going to happen. All right, the chances of that are like 1%. He's probably going to get him down. Will he be able to finish Alex Pereira? Possibly, and I'll tell you why. He got in some pretty dominant positions against Jan Blachowicz. And Blachowicz is a better grappler than Alex Pereira. And he wasn't able to hurt Jan Blachowicz on the ground, but I'm telling you, man, if he gets Alex Pereira down and is able to get into mount, he could possibly TKO him. It is possible. Will he get a submission? I don't think so. Pereira is one of these tricky customers where he's cool, calm, and collected under pressure, and he'll be able to keep his chin tucked, sort of like Volkanovski. Another thing that sort of gives me confidence in Pereira is that he has an ability to sort of like oven mitt people's wrists and hands. He was able to do that to Jan. He was able to do that to Yuri, where Yuri took him down in their first fight. And Pereira just has like these oven mitts for hands, and he can just like grab your wrist and neutralize it. So it's very possible that we just could see like Pereira sort of just like bide time on the ground and just make sure that he does everything in his power to just not allow Magomed to have a free hand. All right. And he just seems like one of these guys that picks things up fast. A lot of people were talking about his first fight with Adesanya where he attempted a takedown and Adesanya reversed it, and then Adesanya controlled him and beat him up on the ground. That was years ago. For Alex Pereira, with how new his MMA career is, a couple of years is a lot for this guy when it comes to picking up grappling and getting better at it and learning tricks and crafty things, right? And he's been working with Glover. I think he's going to be good enough to survive. I think Alex Pereira, listen, it's not that easy to finish this guy on the ground. You know what I mean? Like Yuri Prochazka, he's been training MMA for over 10 years. Jan Blachowicz, he's been training MMA for about 10 years, over 10 years. These guys couldn't get him out of there. Magomed is a better grappler than Jan Blachowicz. He's a better grappler than Yuri. He has decent ground and pound. But I don't see enough of a monster on the ground for me to trust that he's going to be the one to finish Pereira. I think he takes him down. I think he controls him. I think he wins a round. I think that we could be in the second round and Pereira could be on the ground and Magomed could have 8 minutes of control time racked up, and we could be feeling like, damn, we're really about to lose, one of the most entertaining champions. I'm telling you, Pereira will eventually find it on the feet. All right. He will, even if it's just a minute in round 2, even if it's just 2 minutes in round 3, he will make those minutes count. That's the thing that I trust about Pereira so much. He makes those minutes on the feet count, dude, when he needs to. He's a very smart fighter. He's very intelligent. All right. Now, something else to bring up. The threat of the takedown is present. That's also going to open up the hands for Magomed Ankalaev. So this is the thing. Ankalaev may not be finishing people on the feet. He has finished a couple people, but like when we're talking about the top contenders, Blachowicz, Rakic, he's not finishing these guys. He has good power, not the craziest power. Definitely doesn't have Yuri Prochazka power. But the threat of the takedown will actually open up more success for him. So it is possible that like Magomed, if he mixes in the grappling early, could just have like his way with Pereira on the feet as well. You know what I mean? When it comes to just having like, a couple of big shots landed before a takedown, and we could see him steal this fight by like a 50-45. It could be the case that the striking it seems like effortless for this guy. But I also think that Pereira, he's not the type of fighter to really concern himself too much with the takedown, because Pereira understands if he's too focused on the takedown, his own striking is not going to work, and he won't be able to impose his will that much. We saw that against Blachowicz. Again, it comes back to that. It's like, yes, he got taken down by Blachowicz, even in the second round again, but when he got right back up to his feet, he was striking as if the threat of the takedown wasn't even there, and that's what gave him success. So I'm picking Pereira for that reason. I'm going to pick Pereira, again, first round KO if Magomed stands with him and, tries to strike with him. If Magomed does end up grappling, I see him winning this fight early, the first few rounds. I'll pick Pereira by a third or fourth round TKO, maybe even a fifth. The leg kicks are going to affect Magomed, and eventually the left hook is going to be there. I'm telling you, he leaves his right hand down. So I'm going to go with Alex Pereira by a KO. For Magomed to win this, it's going to be by decision, or unfortunately, maybe he could be the one to KO Alex Pereira. But at the end of the day, I was worried about Pereira's chin after he fought Adesanya, but he fought Blachowicz. He's fought Roundtree. Those guys have some pop. They have some power. Magomed is not like the heaviest hitter Pereira's even fought. I don't think Pereira's chin is just going to be gone. And even though he's 37, that's still like a prime age for a light heavyweight champion, it seems. So I think we're going to see Pereira at his best. People have been talking about him traveling and all that, but this is the thing, man. He had his best performance of his entire career when he had like a broken foot, and he was traveling a whole lot before that Yuri Prochazka rematch. So I think he's going to be fine, dude. I think he's going to be all right. Magomed, I am going to be in his corner. I'm going to be with Magomed, brother, on fight week. Again, I took my bias out of that. But yeah, Magomed, I'll just let you guys know. He's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve. All right, he's got a couple of tricks, and you'll see it when he does it. You'll see that's the Lucas Tracy technique. You know what I mean? A couple takedowns that Magomed is going to have in his arsenal also sort of, I will take credit for it. I'll say, man, you know, sort of, I was training that with him. But, guys, I think Alex is going to get this one done. All right. This is going to be a great fight. I just can't wait because this truly is like the best fighter Pereira has fought at light heavyweight outside of Jan Blachowicz. And Jan Blachowicz made it close. This is the thing, man. Blachowicz made it close. And I think it was Blachowicz's body language that let him down. He was very tired in that fight, but that was a close fight. This is I think, a more tricky fighter to fight when it comes to, like, you know, I think he's better than Blachowicz on the ground, not as good on the feet, but still fast on the feet. And in that way, he's a tricky guy to fight. But Blachowicz is better defense when it comes to the boxing, and that's what it's going to come down to. The leg kicks, Magomed leaving his right hand down, and Pereira just having the ability to just survive on the ground. I think it's going to be good enough to survive. But if Magomed stands with him early, dude, I think we're going to see a first-round KO. But I don't think he's going to do that. So, looking forward to this one. If Pereira wins this, how many title defenses would that be? He won the belt against Yuri, defended against Jamal Hill, then fought Yuri, then Khalil Roundtree. This would be his 4th title defense at light heavyweight. And I think this would be his 10th win in the UFC. 10-1 with, I mean, this guy would be 100% top 10. I don't think anyone could deny it. And again, he kind of needs this like well-rounded fighter. So looking forward to it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time.